And, we talk about people not saving enough or not being able to save enough to retire. When you retire, do you plan on continuing to work on the side? Or are you really the kind of person who will not do any more paid work for the rest of your life? There's no correct answer, but what do you think you'll want to do? What do I think I want to do at that age? Everyone, my name is Lisa. I have a YouTube channel called Lisa's Adulting in Singapore. I started it at the end of 2021 and it really kicked off in 2022. One of my videos went viral. It's about how I budget my salary, and the title is something like how I live on 3.2k a month in Singapore. That really kicked off. And then I think in February, I posted another video about how I bought my HDB at 24 years old. That also kicked off and did very well. People started reaching out to me, like the Financial Coconut, and I went on your show also at the end of, in the middle of last year. And I try my best to post videos when I can.
Go commit to like doing more in 2024.
And it's been good. I think I don't put a lot of pressure on myself to post frequently. So I feel like I have control over, like really when I post something, it's really well thought out.
Yes.
But of course cannot always be like that. I hopefully next year will
higher
be able
frequency,
higher
more
frequency.
consistent.
Yeah, that's been my channel. And so far it's just been personal finance videos, some house related videos. I did a house tour this year. That was, I think, a year and a half in the making.
Why is it
a tough
why
video.
is it a year? Please share with us a little bit for all the outsider people. Like why does it take 1.5?
The back end. Okay, firstly on the production side, when I record my videos, there's a script and there's my mic and I'm talking into the mic. I'm editing almost like a PowerPoint slide to accompany my my script. With a house tour, it's full on, like I got to film B-roll, I got to A-roll, film my shot. So it wasn't just the script, it was also the visuals that I had to think about and the angle, what I wanted to share about my house. Because really I could talk about my house for a whole day, for 24 hours if you want that video. But I had to, of course, condense it. In the end, I got it out and I'm very pleased with it. A lot of people also like that video. I think probably people who were not interested in personal finance, they chanced upon my video.
Home tour is a whole vertical on its own.
And I think the intentionality behind my budgeting can be seen in my house tour. And so it suited my channel really well. Like I love making something and putting it up there. So I want to do more of it.
But just recapping 2023, right? Did you achieve all your goals in 2023? I think you set out to do some stuff, right? Just let us understand a little bit on that.
At the end of 2022, I made a video called My 2023 Money Goals. I did the same thing at the end of 2021 where I set out my 2022 goals. It's financial goals in that I say I want to save a certain amount a month or a certain amount by the end of the year. The main difference between my 2022 goals and 2023 goals is that in 2023, I focus more on savings in a month. So I say I want to save $400 towards a holiday every month. Whereas in 2022, I said I wanted to save, I think, $7,000 in my retirement by the end of the year. And I changed that because firstly, investments fluctuate. So even though I did put in the monthly contributions that would add up theoretically to 7K, I didn't actually reach 7K because of the market being not in a very good place. So I thought for 2023, just make it easier for myself and say I want to save a certain amount every month. That's the main difference. And the great thing about how I set my goals is that I will definitely achieve it because I've set it up such that I'm definitely going to be able to save that amount every month because it's been accounted for in my budget, which fits alongside all my other priorities like my bills, how much I want to spend on myself, my insurance.
Bills is a priority. Anyway,
electricity is a priority.
No choice one, that one no choice. Yes.
So I've set it up such that I will always hit it. Ceteris paribus, like I am still employed at the end of the year. I have no emergency expenses like healthcare expenses that I need to suddenly pay for. So if everything goes well, I will hit my numbers by the end of the month because I've set it up so that it's a mindless thing. Every month, the money just automatically goes to the savings account or the investment platform.
And ta-da!
It's I think I mentioned in my video, it's a bit of a cop-out because like, I have this goal, but really I set it in January and then by
No
December,
stress, 保价,
the money is all there
guarantee.
already.
Yeah. Okay. Ceteris paribus, by the way, for
Ceteris paribus,
all of you that don't know what is ceteris paribus, all things still held constant.
Yeah.
Right.
All variables remaining equal.
Yes. Are you an econ student?
No, I am not.
So, okay. Ceteris paribus. Yes. Wow. I love it. Right. I'm starting my day with ceteris paribus. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fair. So, but then maybe a push on that question, right? In other words, you are not trying to do stretch goals. You're not trying to like stretch it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like some people when they set goals, right? There is the crazy goals that will never achieve. I don't even know why people set those goals. It's like they set up to fail, right? And then there's the other school of thought, which is you want to set a goal that is a little bit stretched, right? I mean, you're not going to get it easily because where you are at, right? It's like you guarantee almost you get it, right? You set it up for it and you're definitely going to get it. So like, what is your take on stretching it a little bit?
Yes, I've heard of that. I think there's also they say 10% beyond your limit is a good place, like you, so that it's challenging enough that you can push yourself, but not so challenging that you want to give
that
up.
You just flop,
So when I choose the number, like say I want to save $400 for my holiday fund, and I put it in my budget and everything, I take a step back and I look at my overall budget and I think, could I maybe spend less on my personal shopping, like fun spending, to maybe push my holiday fund by $50 more? There is never a perfect situation where I can spend as much as I want and also invest and save as much as I want. So I do have to negotiate with other aspects in my life. Like say if I really only budget $500 on recreational spending, and recreational includes things like if I want to go for classes or gyms or socialize more with my friends, I'm really testing myself on how much I can do in that month if I'm going to prioritize my other goals. The testing the limits is there in that I'm negotiating other aspects of my life in order to meet my financial goals. My financial goals are not my number one priority in my life. I do try to make my life as balanced as possible, whether like it's taking care of my health or taking care of my relationships with my friends and my family. So there is that. In 2022, I did I say I want to save 7,000, but I was thinking on a monthly basis, I can really only save enough to get 6,000, 6.5. And then I tell myself, I have $500 more, push to 7K, that kind of thing. But I think being honest with yourself about what you realistically can achieve is key to meeting those goals. Because like, why set yourself up to fail in a way, like to not meet your goals? That's so, it would be so demoralizing to me if I'm like, I want to save 20K by the end of the year. With what point?
Objectively, it's not possible.
Yeah.
Right. And then why you set it up to fail, right?
And it makes you feel good at the end of the year when you see the numbers at the end, but you already set it up for yourself in this way. You are setting up the runway for you to win, again, all things being equal, by the end of the year.
Nice. I like that thought, right? Essentially, choosing the goal itself and setting the numbers in itself is already the key metrics for success to begin with, right? And that's a big part of goal setting and budgeting and all that jazz, right? And you also did the whole year of like no buy, low buy thing, right? And I know that every other video somehow got buy something. So how has that journey been? No buy, low buy, and how has it changed your view?
In 2022, I embarked on this low buy project. I talked about it in the previous podcast. It's a variation of the no buy, and the no buy year is just, as it sounds, essentially a year where you don't buy anything, but it's not so like you don't spend anything. It depends on, you can choose the category that you want to impose a no buy on. And the low buy is just a variation, basically where I restrict how much I spend in that category rather than just blanket ban, no purchasing anything at all from this category. And when I started the low buy in 2022, I wanted to make that project public and share how I've managed the low buy every month. I started with for the first 6 months, I made videos tracking my progress. It got too tiring to keep making videos every month just on that low buy, so I moved to a blog post. And for the whole of 2023, I continued with the blog post where I summarized my monthly spending and how it aligned with my budget or something like that. But in 2022, the low buy, when I started, it was more than financial considerations. When I imposed a $50 fun spending restriction on myself, it was more than just wanting to save money. When I started the low buy project in 2022, my motivations were also mental, right? It was to get a better handle on my spending behavior, spending patterns, the way I was thinking about buying things. So the motivation, I would say, I would tell people it's more than financial. However, there was a really strong financial incentive also,
Yeah, because at the end, you're going to have this extra.
Not so much that, but more like financial necessity. Because in 2022, I was in no place to be responsibly holding on to that kind of spending behaviors. So the context is in 2022, I had been only staying in my place for about 10 months. I was still building my emergency savings. My salary was 3,200 at that point. So I didn't have any side hustle money by then. So it was the necessity of needing to manage my fund spending helped to fortify my commitment and discipline to the low buy project. But of course, the mental and emotional benefits that I got from the project were very valuable. And aside from saving money and being able to hit my goals, I also refined my ability to value items. Like I know intrinsically to me what an item's value is to me. And so it wasn't like some great realization, oh, I don't need things in this life, or like I've been thinking about shopping wrong all this time. It was more a slow refinement of that ability to understand something's value to me, like on a personal level. And so it is that lesson that I carried over to 2023. I did stop the low buy in 2022. So in 2022, I had the $50 budget on myself, for myself every month. In 2023, I didn't have that budget anymore. I had a loose budget of effectively $300, but I told myself that I'll only spend $100 every month. I call it my sinking fund. So a sinking fund of $100 every month to spend on whatever I want. And then I put aside $200 also in a sinking fund, but something that I didn't want to spend in that month. I said like I would accumulate this, oh my gosh, nerdy, what I call the medium-term sinking fund. If you watch my video, this would all make sense.
Yes. Please watch the videos. Yes.
My medium-term sinking fund. And this is to account for unexpected big-ticket expenses that are not emergencies, not like healthcare or anything. But more so like if I needed a new mattress or if I needed a new phone, I would have that money put aside. Or like during Black Friday sales when you want to stock up on stuff and I would have exceeded my $100. I would have come from the medium-term sinking fund. But effectively I had about $300 to spend a month. And that's 6 times as much money as I had last year. So it was a different set of challenges that I faced compared to 2022. But I was able to bring over the lessons that I learned from 2022. But I would say in 2023, my 2 biggest challenges were firstly, like the thought of how, like having to struggle every month with the thought of how to best optimize my $100. Because $100 is a lot of money, but it's also
not a lot of
it's
money.
Not that much money. You can either spend it in one go, or you can take like the whole month thinking about how to best spend that $100. And which is also related to the second challenge of how to stop seeking out things to buy. Because when you're wondering how to best spend your $100, you're looking at all these different places wondering, is this the thing to buy this month or is this the thing to buy this month? I will have to continue to work on this for the next year. 2022, very little money. 2023, suddenly a lot of money. 2024, I'm realizing that I don't want to be thinking about how to spend money anymore. It's not how I want to use my time. And that is what I want to focus on. Less so how much I'm spending every month, but more so how I spend my time.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. Can you kind of expound a little bit? Like how has that shift occurred? I mean, you did the no buy, low buy thing. You revalue, things, learn to kind of like realize, okay, what does this thing mean to me, right? So how did that kind of thing shift? Is it built on the basis of, okay, now you have like a lot more that you don't even need to really think about it, so then you can reprioritize the effort somewhere else and focus on time, the greatest asset, right? That's what everyone says, right? So is that kind of the gradual shift?
It's something I've been thinking about the past few months. When I mentioned the 2 challenges of wondering how to optimize my budget and wanting to stop seeking out things to buy, they work hand in hand, right? Like to know how to best optimize or best spend, you want to see what available options you have. And the seeking and the searching seems free. Scrolling online seems free because you're not buying anything, but you're paying with your time. And it's a compulsive behavior that I have unfortunately developed this year with my increased ability to buy things by virtue of having a larger budget. And it's not a new behavior. Like in the past 2 decades, compulsive checking on social media, on the internet, on your phones,
it's a thing.
It's a thing. It's a growing problem. It has been a problem for a long time. And for me, that is manifesting less so in the social media space, but more so in the compulsive checking of deals and vouchers.
Yeah. Claim this voucher, spend later, all that kind of like click the point.
Without naming any specific
because not sponsored
platform.
but yeah.
Yeah, it's a really unpleasant habit to have for myself because it takes time away from things that I want to be thinking about. And it's time that I'd rather be spending on other things, but it's just a really terrible habit. So not even next year. I think right now it's something I want to work on. I'm thinking of maybe no commitment, but thinking of like swearing off online shopping for next year. Like the experience of shopping online. If I really want something, I'm going to walk to a mall or bring myself to a mall and go window shopping in that way. I think the experience of shopping has changed so much in the last few years, right? Like from being something that you do in store. People talk about shopping addictions, and then you imagine people with like huge shopping bags walking out of a mall. It doesn't look like that anymore. Now it looks like parcels coming to your door. It's a lonely experience. I feel like last time if I were to shop, I would always be with a friend walking down Bugis Junction. Yeah, it was a more social experience. Not that the money I spent back then was in any way responsible or wise, but I was young then. But it was a social experience. Now online shopping is like you in your bed at home when you're supposed to be sleeping or when you're supposed to be paying attention to your family. So it's really different now. I think it's a very different challenge.
Yeah. No, and honestly, it feels very stressful.
Yeah.
Like, because like in the malls, or let's say you're shopping in a physical space, right? You're not going to walk to 3 malls to find the best deal.
Yes,
it's a lot of work, get to the next mall. I mean, yes, the whole street has a lot of malls, but you're not going to go there. But on the app, right? You will go to every single one that sells the same thing and you compare and say, hey, this one like a bit cheaper. And then after you do that whole thing, right, it's already an hour.
Yep. Yeah. And was it worth that $1.50 thing that you wanted to buy?
Exactly. You're just saving that 50 cents. It's like, it's crazy.
The way that the apps now are designed, right? It's taking lessons right out of the social media platform playbook. You get people compulsively checking by offering them limited deals, flash deals or vouchers, and you offer them everything they could possibly want, like from groceries to decor to from household necessities to luxuries. You offer everything on the platform so that they wouldn't go to anyone else. I recently finished this book called Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. And he talks about like new technologies in this world, and he describes it as a lopsided arms race because every new technology in what he calls the attention economy conglomerate, they are fighting for your attention. Your attention and your eyeballs on their app is ad money for them.
Yes.
So their incentive is of course to get you to stay on their app for as long as possible. And they do this by engineering their platforms in such a way that it's so addictive, it's so compulsive to you. And I saw a lot of that, like not even from social media, but just from my habits of scrolling on these apps and engaging with it in this exact way that they intended for me, like the companies intend for me to. I feel rotten. I don't want to continue engaging, like spending my time in this way anymore.
Yeah.
It's not good for my mental health. It's not good for my wallet.
But just on that note, right? Recently, I went to Thailand. Right, so I had a short trip in Thailand, and I did like a whole 5-day digital fast, like no phones. I mean, I had my phone for maps, right? But that's as far as it went. And now I've regained a lot more control over like. I don't need to keep listening to podcasts, although I'm a podcaster. But sometimes you gotta take a break from all this digital shit, right? Like it's very noisy, right? So I can kind of sit with myself for longer. I can read longer. I have more attention. I can feel more like I know cheesy like mindfulness. But there's some basis to that, right? And I can feel like I'm getting control. Like previously, I couldn't even go to toilet without my phone.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I totally relate
So
to that.
if eventually it felt like clutches. The word is clutches. That means you cannot live without that thing anymore.
Yeah.
Right. But after I do that 5-day fast, right, I said, oh, now I can. It's
Mm.
okay. The phone charging. It's fine, right? I'll still use the washroom, right? And I think that's a process of kind of getting that back. It's amazing.
Mm.
But more importantly, based on what you were just saying, right? Pre-trip, right? Before that trip, you got to book everything, right?
Mm.
I was on a shopping platform,
Yeah.
right? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'll sit there, I take out my Mac, like full on, like
Yeah.
1 hour. It's like,
You want to get all the coupon codes to save on the trip that you were already planning.
Exactly.
But I totally get it.
Exactly. You know what's the best thing? At the end, I found out that I just go to the hotel website, I book, that's the cheapest. And the thing is,
After all that time.
after all the time, I went to the hotel, I booked, that's the cheapest, and I got the premium one and like atas service, extra things, right? But you know what's the best thing? The best thing was, because I was in and out of the few apps, right? They were all tracking me, right? So after I booked the other hotel, this one of this platform sent me a special code. You get the idea, special code on my next booking, right? And because I was shifting through different hotels in that stay, right, I ended up booking back with the platform because they gave me an even better rate compared to what they would give, the standard players. And this is the algo doing its work, right? And it's crazy. I was in a little bit of a shock after that. I was like, what the hell? What are you guys doing? Like, all my moves. You have studied enough data sets to know that when someone comes in and out in this pattern, this is what they are thinking, right? And then what do you do if they drop off? Do this. I was like, oh my God, that's so scary.
Yeah, it's a lopsided arms race, as Cal Newport puts it.
Ooh, okay.
Like, how could you possibly compare to all these algorithms who always, there are tentacles around your every internet search, your every online move.
But back on the topic of like budgeting, right? Like budgeting for next year, because I think you've kind of gone through this for a few years and you've laid out quite a few evolution and the challenges you're facing, which I love it, right? But going forward, like in the next year, are you going to change your framework, or how is your budgeting framework going to be like for 2024?
My budgeting framework throughout the years has evolved, but the methodology has always been the same. It's like you have a cake and you have to figure out how to divide it. So in 2022, I followed the 50-30-20 rule that I read on Seedly. It's where 50% is to your fixed expenses, 30 to savings, 20 to investments, or the other way around. And then in 2023, I found oh my gosh, what is it? 40, 20, 10, 20, 10 on self finance. But they are variations of the same thing.
Yes.
You have the broadest category and then you assign sort of like a percentage to it. And it's really arbitrary. Depends on your income also. Like if I were budgeting a 4K income compared to a 10K income, those proportions are going to look very different. It's not anything new. Like if you look online, it's the first thing people like. It's a very standard method of budgeting. Figure out what your expenses are, the things that you cannot change, and then you figure out what you can change. Split up into broad categories. I feel like, I don't know, to my brain, it's very straightforward and easy. But I don't know. Does it come across as complicated to somebody who is not interested in personal finance, which I think is such a pity because truly I think it is not difficult. It just requires some time for you to really sit down and think about it, and also requires you to be honest with yourself. Maybe that's the difficult part, like confronting
the need to change,
or feeling like, I'm just bad with money, this kind of thinking. So if you have people like that in your life, be gentle. Like understand that they might have a whole like life's worth of baggage behind them that is interfering with their ability to confront themselves.
I mean, I've been telling people, right, essentially the way you spend your money and the way you decide where to put, how to budget, what to invest is all a manifestation of your inner world, right?
Yes, yes.
And your inner world is formed with all these experiences that you bring growing up, and all that jazz, right? So money, right, is just that last thing that manifests in the external world.
I agree with you.
Right. So with that in mind, right, for people that struggle, right, then the work is not just telling them more, repeat that, save more, especially that's stupid, waste of time, right? Like people that already get it, they get it. People that can do it, they do it, right? It's the people that are kind of like in the middle, and they may be very high income earners, they may not be struggling, guys, right? But it's that whole psyche that you need to unwind, and sometimes they do need to find some comfort, whether is it in a community, whether is it in like-minded people, or like, even certain services or apps or whatever, to kind of like move through that, or work through their deeper, demons and all that, right? The baggage, baggage is a more neutral word. Yeah. It's quite crazy.
Like everything we were talking about just now on our, like these apps, right? And our spending, is it even spending habits? Our behaviors that affect how we spend money. And these behaviors are affected by things beyond just the money itself.
Yes.
And whether it comes from ourselves or influence from bigger
parents,
powers,
society, anywhere. Yes. And like what you said, right? Like a lot of these big organizations and companies are capitalizing on that vulnerability, and we need to fortify ourselves, right? Build the friction, all that. That's a much longer discussion, right? But just, hey, welcome to the Financial Coconut Podcast Network. I'm your host, Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut. And if you're loving what we're creating here, like, share, subscribe, share with your loved ones, comment in the comment section below, and we'll see you for great content on Chills with TFC. Right, but just specific. So what are you then going to change for 2024 then in terms of your budgeting framework with that big thing in mind?
2024 will be a year of change for me. So naturally my budget will adapt to reflect that change so that I'm still taking care of my future self, but my current self as well. And your budget should always serve you, right? So for next year, I'm still working on it, but I foresee myself having to spend more on fixed expenses, for instance. Like I'll probably be spending more on food next year because I'll be going back to the office most days of the week now compared to my current situation where I'm working from home, and so I can save more on food. I'm also thinking that I might be reducing my contributions to investments. So my long-term goals, those will have to be sacrificed a bit, like just pulling back a bit so that I can put more money towards other things. Like I really want to see how I can, like, what's the threshold, like I don't want to just push my savings. And savings, I mean, can be investments, can be savings for other things, just basically money that you don't want to use right now. Like I don't want to push without intention. Like I want to maximize however much I can spend to the point where it doesn't bring me any more value, and then that's why I cut it off. I think next year I will adjust the proportion such that I would be saving less compared to this year.
To be fair, I think it's a very interesting and significant feeling. It's a very feeling thing, right? You reach a point where, why do you need to budget? Right, and that is a very important point, because two things have existed. One thing is you have kind of automated a lot of the big things. The second thing is you find so much comfort in where you are that anything extra is just extra, right? And I think that's the place that a lot of people are hoping to be at, and it's not even like, once again, it's not dependent on your income. Everybody wants to feel like enough. Right, so what is enough is not just a number, but it's a feeling also, right? And that enough level, I think that's kind of where, maybe you're aiming for, to kind of feel that comfort that, this is good enough. Anything more is more law. Like I don't need more law, it's fine, right? And you want to find that space, right? And that is a very nice space to be, trust me, because I stay in Kuala Lumpur now, right? So I stay in KL. For all of you that still don't know, I stay in KL. Every time you see me film, I'm in Singapore, yes, but I stay in KL. And we all know the exchange rate, right? We understand this thing, but I'm not a bird. I don't go there and cheap, okay? Everything, right? So when I'm there, I mean, okay, after I come back, I can still feel that bliss, right? This is because, I engineer myself to know what I want, what I don't want. So even when I come to Singapore, I don't feel the pressure, in any way. But there was a period of time when I was there that I have so much ease, right? Because it's just so easy based on my income, right? To live in care is very easy. But I think it is that comfort that I've experienced over a prolonged period that gave me a lot more confidence in doing bigger things, right? And I think that's the part that a lot of ground up people, like middle class working professionals, are kind of trying to get, whether is it from a psychological standpoint or actually getting there, right? And once you get there, the ideas open up, right? The possibilities open up, and it's a very nice place to be.
In a similar vein, it's the scarcity mindset thing, right? Like especially if you grow up poor,
More jialat lah. Yeah.
or middle class.
No, I tell you, a lot of the middle class actually very poor one. It's just there's a phenomenon of the middle class. Do you know this thing?
I heard about it,
essentially, people try to squeeze themselves in to believe that they're the middle class because the middle class is a trendy idea. But actually, the middle class as a term was built for tax. Okay, if you're going to read how this idea first came about in the US, it was because post-war boom, the US had a lot of people that were peasantry and working class that just made a lot of money, and now the government tried to think of how to tax them, so they created this term called the middle class.
I see.
Yes, and then a whole tax structure came about from there. So, but of course, after that, the term took a lot of beefing up and became trendy, became cool. Everybody wants to be in the middle class. So actually, there's only ruling class and working class. Okay, but that's another discussion. Everybody wants to be in the middle class. So a lot of people that seriously actually struggle, they say that they're the middle class. They say that the middle class struggle. I tell you, at best, you're middle low, right? And you need to awake from that. But that's a different discussion. That's another topic. Yes.
Needing that ease so that you don't feel this pressure to not really strive, but almost like catch up to this unseen standard that you think everybody else is at. If I psychoanalyze myself, I think, why am I so obsessed about getting the best value, getting the best deals? Is it because I grew up poor? Like, I guess. Yes.
I even had a theory around sharing, Like, why do you need to share? Because you grew up poor. That's why you need to share. That's why sharing is a big anchor of the mess. This idea. I have a lot of rich friends, right? They don't understand this idea of sharing. If you think about it, if you got a lot, right? Kid A wants this, kid B wants it, but just buy them both. Don't need share. Share for what? Right? Don't need share. So sharing becomes a very foreign concept to a lot of these rich kids that grew up from a wealthy family. But sharing as an idea is very synonymous with the mess, right? Because a lot of people grew up in a family that, I can only buy one computer, one table, right? 3 of your share, right? This hour you, next hour you, next hour you, right? So it is just part and parcel of coming from the peasantry or the working class, right? Yeah, and it is part and parcel of it. I mean, eventually we get to a place that is a bit more comfortable, and then when we are more comfortable, then we can unwind some of these other things and other baggages that we kind of bring along, and then it will affect the way we look at money, do money, and budget from there, right? So I think it's part and parcel of the journey. So I get it. That is your 2024 thing, right? That you're gonna do, and gonna do more videos, right? Comment section, right? Tell Lisa do more videos, right? Yeah.
We talk about personal finance and budgets and Google Sheets and everything, but it's really confronting yourself and what you value. I've learned a lot about myself just from looking at this thing of managing my money every month. Has sparked a lot of thoughts about what I value, what I want to prioritize. Something else that I want to work on in 2024 is also, I want to clarify for myself what exactly retirement looks like or could look like for me. Because right now, I'm just saving a pot of gold. I don't claim to be any sort of personal finance expert. I've never claimed to. And so this is still something that eludes me. I tell my friends, save for your retirement. I preach on my YouTube channel, you should save for long-term goals. But have you thought about what those long-term goals are? Like the thought of me at 65 just saying, I'm done. I'm just going to live the rest of my life living off what I saved up in my youth. That is so vague. Like, what am I going to do every day? Do I have hobbies? Do I have relationships? And, we talk about people not saving enough or not being able to save enough to retire. When you retire, do you plan on continuing to work on the side? Or are you really the kind of person who will not do any more paid work for the rest of your life? There's no correct answer, but what does what do you think you'll want to do? What do I think I want to do at that age? So I'm going to have to do a lot of soul searching and just clarifying for myself what that future looks like. I think it would give me more motivation and drive. And I'm just generally a person who knowing what I'm working towards, because that gives me motivation and drive, and also discipline. If I can picture in my mind and visualize what that future looks like.
And I think just now you alluded to a little bit of this thing called like soft savings. A little bit, right? Because you're essentially looking to like save a little less, look at now. And soft saving is a new term lah, similar to girl math lah, everything like cat math, all sorts of math, right? So like just kind of get a bit of color, like what's your take on these things? Like girl math, soft saving, because my producer asked me to ask. Yeah.
There's been a lot of these like
new terms,
adjective noun trends.
Yes, to substantiate.
Yeah, like quiet quitting and then quiet firing.
Yeah.
I see it as a pushback against the hustle culture, the girl boss era of the 2010s, 2014, that time. It seems new, but it's just a reaction to that very, very stressful, very intense period of wanting to push yourself to the limit to be the best, to empower yourself or your community. Hustle culture was a huge thing in the 2010s.
Yeah.
And it left a lot of people feeling burnt out. Girl boss is the gendered manifestation of that. It's the pendulum swing on the other end, and I like it. I think it's very thoughtful. It forces you to be intentional, right? I think at least you are there. There's the intention to save and the understanding that there's a necessity, but not at the expense of your life now.
Yeah, fair. And let's be clear, it is not dichotomous. Yeah, okay. Like you can be intentional about what you're doing now, be a bit more tarik about your very intense retirement plan. You can slow down a little bit, but still at the same time work towards it, right? Like you can still achieve those goals, maybe by a longer period of time. You can still achieve them, and it's not just like relax, right? It's a little bit of trying to find the ground where at the same time you live a decent quality of life now that you don't hate, right? At the same time you work towards where you want to go, right? So that is that maybe that soft savings side of things lah. But okay, the internet will take this term in a very different way eventually in 3 years time, right? So as with all internet terms, right? So don't quote us in the future.
I see on the internet slow life, gentle productivity. It's like a mesh of the self-care movement with the finance movement.
Yeah. I see that a lot. I saw it, I was like, but I feel like they're a bit much. But that's a different discussion. Like it's gotten a little too much. Like you still gotta hustle, you still gotta like, if you want something, you gotta work for it, you gotta like grind it out. It's for sure, right? But like where is that ground where you can grind it out, do well, and hustle for what you want, but at the same time not kill yourself now, and like live a decent quality of life and still, achieve that goal. I think that's the spot that a lot of us would like to find, but there's no real term for this group other than called success right? So it becomes an interesting, dichotomy that people start to set it up with between two different sides, right? So it is what it is. Okay, great. I think we went on a lot. I love it. I think there's so much more. I'm sure we can do more. Maybe last question. When I saw the production script, I was like, really? There's this thing? Right? So this last question is like, apparently my producers say that Karl Marx is quite an influence to you in terms of his philosophy, right? So Marxism, we're not Marxists, just saying. Marxist is a dangerous word here in Singapore, but yeah. So can you just, in closing, share with us, I know it's a heavy last question, how does Karl Marx philosophy, influence your way of life and your finances and all that?
There's that one quote that really impressed on me that I shared in my net worth video. It was a rare light bulb moment when I read that quote, when I chanced upon it. Karl Marx, he was around during the time of the Industrial Revolution, right? In Europe, in the 1800s. And the Industrial Revolution, that was when people were moving from agrarian societies, very sort of self-sufficient communities, to what our modern life looks like now. Like in these factories, people were being made to work for 12 hours, 6 days a week. It was just it was a different time compared to what came immediately before. Now we look at it and it's just like a unrefined version of how we function now. You know, factories being dirty, work labor laws non-existent. But that really shaped how our modern life operates now. And Karl Marx, he saw it for what it was, which was people were being dehumanized as simply units of production, working in these factories, sacrificing their time and their life to make, you would say, the ruling class rich. And so that quote resonates. Like I find his perspective useful in just grounding me and not thinking about myself in such a dehumanizing, alienating way. You know, think of myself less as a unit of production and more as a human being. We talked about the hustle culture, and you know, I could always work harder, push myself more, but that also means sacrificing other areas of my life that make me happy, that improves my life in other ways, like my health and my relationships, my purpose and my meaning. It's hard to quantify that, and when you cannot quantify something, it's valued less.
It's not in the formula.
Yeah, that's right. So, you know, the less you drink, read, go to balls, that's what he says, the less you are. I think as a human being, your goal is to have experiences, to live your life, to take care of yourself and others. And that is my North Star, not what my productive output is at the end of my life. So his perspective is helpful to me in that way, to center myself, to ground myself.
Nice. Not saying we are Marxists, okay? But yes, that's a different discussion. Okay. So thank you for your time. You know, hope to have you on the show again, you know, to talk about the other big things, and all the best for 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Reggie.
Nice.